Hey everybody, Jeff Yancer, creative music genius. Hit play. All right. What I want to do is share a 144, and I'm going to turn this down. .4 hertz is my ideal frequency. That's like my biotuning frequency. That's like the frequency that puts me in the most relaxed, most chill, best vibe state that I can possibly be in, right? And you can use, like the advanced biotuning system, or you can use muscle testing, or maybe you just have a favorite number, right? But today I'm choosing 144.4 as my ideal frequency, and I want to share with you behind the scenes how I'm dialing this in for brainwave entrainment, binaural beats, and beyond. Okay, and I say beyond because I want to give a huge shout out to Dr. Jeffrey Thompson and his son Shay. I've gotten 2 epiphanies from these guys recently, and I'm like, okay, because I've been doing this for a while, right? And so Dr. Jeffrey said amplitude modulation, panning, tempo, pacing, reverb time, your delay time, right? Your effects, your LFOs, all of that, when it's synchronized to the frequency you're trying to entrain to, it works a lot better, right? And I'm going to go in depth in some of that and show you a few examples of how I got that going on, right? And frequency of choice is 144.4 hertz, which is a D in the 3rd octave. And I wrote down all of the octaves, right? I mean, I kind of went a little crazy. I got a spreadsheet that went to 4 decimal places. But you see right there, that would round off to 144.4, right? And we got 3996. So if you're like one of these Tesla people and you're into numerology and all that kind of stuff, there's some cool numbers in here, right? So all you do is you just double it. You double it, you double it up on into infinity, and you cut it in half and cut it in half. And look, there's 36.099. There's 18, which resolves to 9. There's 9 right there. Your alpha brainwave frequency. Then you get 4.5. You're getting into theta and down into delta and beyond, right? So I wrote all that down. There's something about the effect of writing it down physically, right? Something in the brain that connects on a deeper level, right? So, and now I have this, so when I go into my DAW and into my effects or my synth or whatever it is that wants a number, I can plug these numbers in, right? And I can see what number is closest to what's in this list right here, right? And pick one of these and substitute it and see how it sounds and see if I can get my whole piece to synchronize, right, to the chosen frequency, right? And I can dial in brain waves as I want them, right? And here's my tuning, right? A32.71 gives me all these frequencies, spells all those out, right? Took this number 3.3805, cut it in half, 1.69. Added half to the top of that, subtracted half from the bottom, came up with these 2 numbers, my A4 tuning. That gives me my binaural beats that synchronize beautifully with all these frequencies. Okay, so now we're going to dive right into our DAW-like situation and look at how these frequencies get my volume adjusted right here. We'll look at how these octaves go into these DAWs and plugins and settings and so forth. Now yours might look a little different than mine, but the overall principles of sound and frequency and harmonics still apply, and the law of octaves, right? Your button might be in a different place. It might be called a different thing, but still, the basic idea right here is to plug these numbers in that I had wrote down on paper, the octaves of my target frequency, 144.4. You also could look at harmonics also if you wanted to go down that route, right? So you can see the left, right, you see faintly these lines. That's left and right from normal listening position. This is far right, like and it's far left. Okay, right, so we can see our frequencies bouncing up and down there. Right, so over here, first of all, let's look at our Corgam 1. I'm so excited about this thing. I can dial in my tuning, right, 432.71. If you remember from the spreadsheet, that's what gives me 144.4 hertz whenever I play a D in the third octave, right? Which I'm doing all over the place in my tune, right? Take a quick look. Here's my tracks, right? These are just MIDI tracks that are triggering. Okay, we're looking at number 12 right now, which is this Corgam 1. So we got it dialed in to the right A4 tuning, right? My master tuning. And that gives me the exact frequency and then all the harmonics and so forth. Okay, so here we have something called an LFO. I'm just going to click on that real quick. Now, LFOs are everywhere, right? They're in DAWs, they're in synthesizers. Many synths have multiple LFOs, right? And they're in effects, right? Sound effects of various shapes and sizes, right? And an LFO, this one has a depth and a speed, and you can change the shape if you want to. We have a basic sine wave, right? But an LFO doesn't do anything by itself. It has to point at something, right? It has to have a buddy. It has to have a partner. In this case, we've got it pointed at panning. See, by turning this knob up here, and we can give it more effect if we want, or, we can dial it in. See, now, if you look up here, 36, right? That's a number from my list of octave frequencies, right? Just the lower octave of my 144.4 is 36. So I use that number, right? Click on the speed, right? 1.11. That's, okay, I think it's actually 1.12, but I'm real close, right? To that actual frequency that's an octave, right? And I've got it pointed to the panning, and you can see the effect, right? That little green line right there going back and forth and back and forth. So that's automating my panning of this particular sound, this Corgam 1 synthesizer, right? And you can see how fast it's going. You can see how much it is, right? If I turn the depth up, I can make it more intense and give it more effect, right? If I turn it down, right? So now I think what's happening is this soundtrack is, how did I have it on mute? Sorry about that. That was not intentional. Anyhow, this is one soundtrack I worked on. By the way, just a side note, this is one soundtrack I worked on using these MIDI notes, right? And you can zoom in. You can see the MIDI notes right there that I recorded, mostly D and A, right? Okay, so that part is over, but there's a whole nother soundtrack here that I did in a completely different program where I just played, certain chords, right? And it actually helped me, gave me suggestions to use like a D power chord, a D sus4, D sus2, maybe a D6 or a major 7, right? And just throw these in there, but hold down the bass in the D, on the D chord, right? So that's giving me my frequencies, and so that's what's playing right now. I know it's I'm going to turn that up a little bit. I just don't want to overwhelm my own voice, which I tend to do in some of these videos where they come out great, but you can't really hear me very well. So I'm trying to overcome that. But you can see now, okay, so let's go back. We were talking about LFOs, all right? And we got sidetracked somehow. But you can see it's got a depth and a speed, right? You can adjust and you can give it different shapes, right? For different effects, right? But generally that's what you want, right? So let's move on to the, okay, actually we're on, this is the binaural one. So let's look at that for a second. Right here in this one, we got LPF pad for a sound. So we got a different sound than we had over here on 12. See, that's the LFO on 12. You can see how fast it's going and how much effect it has, right? But over here, see, we had 432.71 for our master tuning, right? A single synthesizer on this channel. But over here on 13, we got 2 of these, right? And this one, see, it's turned to 431.02, and this one is tuned to 434.4. And you'll notice this one's panned all the way right. This is panned all the way left. So when I play my note, let's jump over. Oh, okay, we're on the right one. Come over here. See, I got those 2 frequencies right here. Is my as my 2 A4 tunings, right? Right here. Dialed in. Come over here to the D column. And you can see there's my frequency of 144.4, right? And another number that's close to it. So when I play that note with those 2 synths you just saw, it's going to give me a binaural beat of 1.12, right? And of course I can play other octaves and get other brain waves, right? I could get an alpha state, right? But, you know, if I played higher notes, or if I maybe just realize that those harmonics are in the note anyway, right? If I play this, I'm going to get a harmonic here, a harmonic here, a harmonic here, right? And let's look at that for fun, because I just love looking at that. And we're going to go to the, okay, I'm on 13. We're going to go to the effects. We're going to load up this, right? So now we got our frequency of 144.4 in this dot, right? And only what I play is going in here. And I'm playing one note. Okay, I'm playing one note, but notice all these humps. Notice all these humps, right? And I'm going to try to take this one. It's hard to get it exact. But this one says 583 right now at the moment. If we go back over to the sheet, okay, we got 579, right? Yeah, you got to cut it some slack for a couple of hertz until you really dial it in. But see, 579, right? So let's actually see if we can enter that number, right? Which would be 2 octaves up, right? From our, so that'd be D5, right? D in the 5th octave, right? So what did we say? 579? Enter. Okay, there it is. So see, there's that. It's there. There's a harmonic that's almost hitting it, right? And I'm playing this note down here, this D. See this D right here? D3. See, it even tells you when you hover over it, I'm playing a D3. And this is a D5, right? So it's playing that harmonic. It's playing all the harmonics, right? They just kind of fade away. Right? So that's cool. So let's close out of that for a minute and let's go back to, let's look at this one. All right, since we're right here, AUV3 effect, Bleece Phaser, right? This is a plugin that I bought, I think on sale it was $10. I think it's more significantly expensive on the PC and Mac, but it is available there if I'm not mistaken, right? But you can see I've got a preset created and I named it 144.4. I started with a preset, was what I did, right? And then I came down, I looked at this notches field, and I don't remember what number was in there, maybe 11 or something. But then I'm like, okay, I'm going to look at my list of octave frequencies, and I'm going to find a number that's close to it. And I took that number and I found 9 and I plugged it in there, right? So I got 9 notches, right? And then I came over to this one. Now, the number I was really shooting for was 1155, right? Which is in my list. But this is notoriously difficult for an old guy with fat fingers like me to dial it in. Right? But seat 36 is in my list, right? So there it is twice in a row. And another attempt at 1155, but I'm almost, close enough, right? Right. So that's how that works, is you take the octaves, right, of your frequency, right? You take all the octaves, right, and you plug those in, and they support the binaural beat, right? When you use them in your effects, right, your reverbs, or your amplitude modulation. Here, let me show you amplitude modulation, because once again, we're going to call on our friend, the LFO. In fact, what have I got right here? Yes, this is it. You'll notice I pointed my LFO, here it is, right? And it's got its depth and its speed, so it's very subtle, right? It's hardly up there at all. See, the depth is turned down, right? The speed is relatively low, right? But again, if I click on this, 0.28 hertz, that's in my list of octaves, right? And the depth, 14, right? So there's a 0.14 in there, right? So we're going with that for now, right? And you always got to listen to the results. So when you dial something in, you play it, right? And you listen and say, what does that feel like? What does it sound like? Do I like it better, or was it better before? Sometimes it totally is a matter of feel rather than dialing by the numbers, right? So there you go, and it's pointed at amp, right? So that's the volume of this track, right? So I could turn it up, but if I turn it up a lot, so it has a lot of effect. Louder, quieter, louder, quieter. Now let's actually turn it up here too. Let's see if we can go for let's go like, hear how that gets louder, then quieter, right? That's the LFO that's moving at a certain speed, right? 0.28, right? You can dial that down or up, whatever speed you want, right? And if you're in harmony with your target frequency, right, through octave resonance or harmonic resonance, you might be cooking up some magic. Okay, you have multiple things, supporting the resonance of the frequency, right? Like coupled oscillators, but more than a couple, right? So you get the idea, right? I can do the amp envelope, I can do panning. What have I got over here? Nothing there. Let me go back to, okay, so here we have a delay, right? We'll click on the time, 11.1 millisecond. Okay, now I have to confess, this number is not my list, is it? But I almost made a rookie mistake by picking a number from my list and plugging it into this time in milliseconds. But then I thought, wait a minute. Go online, type in milliseconds to hertz, HZ converter, right? Milliseconds to frequency. And I punched my number in there, of my ideal frequency, and then it gave me a list of choices of the different octaves. There were different values. So I looked at this one, and this was like infinite number of ones after that in the results. I'm like, okay, that's the one. And so I chose that one and plugged it in there, right? So there was a conversion, right? You can see my feedback, 36%. Again, here we have a high pass filter, right? We have a cutoff, right? Now, that's also, look, being modulated by the LFO. And if I turn it up, look at how much more that turns, right? And I turn it down, I can make it go. I can make it go backwards somehow. So it goes the other way first, right? So that's kind of how you can dial that in, right? With your cutoff, right? 1.44, and the resonance of 0.23, right? Which should be 0.28. All right, so you dial these in. It's your octave resonance, your harmonics, and magic happens, right? So I'm anxious to hear what you got cooking. I will try to share a finished song of this production, right? I might add some audio and then transpose it by octaves and that kind of thing, and see if I can put some positive affirmations in here as well and post that. Anyhow, Jeff Yenser, creativemusicgenius.com. Thanks for watching. Make Brainwave Entrainment videos.